Let me move to the another set of gatekeepers. Like we talked about invisible gatekeepers and the power structure, the power map. But there are, external, say, stakeholders. For instance, cloud hyperscalers, or you talked about marketplaces earlier, which could be a gatekeeper for some of these, some of these AI products. Sometimes on paper, it sounds good that they could be an ideal distribution partner because they control existing procurement relationships, they control the existing budgets, and also the trust that they have with the client. But as you said, Nick, as you shared, that these could be a good brand awareness. Adding credibility to the to your product, but in terms of discovery from the clients, that might be a challenge. But still, these could be seen as as a potential distribution channel. Apart from that, we also have service providers. So, for instance, system integrators. And there are some conversation which is like, service-led Trojan horse. So if we partner with firms like, say, TCS or IBM or Wipro as the trust layer, because they already have a trust layer into enterprise accounts. And if you partner with them, it can give you, it can open doors for you in those accounts. So does these kind of partnership, who are actually gatekeepers too for the AI product companies, can such partnership accelerate scale, or it could dilute product leverage?
Hey, let me take a stab at this, because I think the two spectrums are uniquely different. And when I think of an easy button, and you start thinking of that part, remember the old Staples commercial? We had the big red button and you hit it and it said, hey, that was easy. Well, the reality is that doesn't work in this environment. So at the end of the day, if you hit that same button, you would find procurement sitting there, or someone that you realistically in this world, you don't want to be dealing with. But I think on the AWS, if you look at the marketplace piece, it makes it a safer decision. It doesn't make it a right decision. It doesn't mean that someone has done the work with the right discovery. They're kind of going with a more comfortable approach. But when you get into the MSPs, I know I'm blessed to have two MSPs that I know well in Atlanta, Hong Wang at TeamLogic, but Dmitry Templinsky at Alpha CIS, who's also a customer, and we get ready to onboard another. That's a different question, because those folks are behind the firewall. They are trusted. These people are also big gatekeepers for their clients, because that's their job, to keep them safe and to help automate. So I do think that the MSPs, without question, are a great Trojan horse approach. And again, you must earn their trust, though, before you're ever going to get to their clients, to touch them, to even have a conversation. So I think that part is critical, and I call it a reputation amplifier. And I know that I see Butch Nicholson's out there, and Butch is, one of his cliches, and it is so true, is I'm going to help you. He does a lot of branding with his live shows, and they're actually really good. But it's all about your reputation is going to walk in the door before you do. And I think that is something very important for us all to remember. When I first heard Butch say it, I understood it, but once you start really living by that, it's like, that one is so critical, because we've already we're on the right track to win, or we already have a deck stacked against us when we walk through the door. And we need to be.
Dean, you talked about this. Yeah, you talked about this reputation builder. How should a startup build? Where should they? How should they build the reputation with the MSPs? considering they are gatekeeper to enterprise accounts?
Well, it starts with a conversation. It's not going to be an easy one. And what I mean by that is it would be, the analogy I would say is, if you think about, I live in a world of trusted advisors, and I have some great partners that are CPAs. Unless someone comes running to them as a client saying, I am dying with sales, I need help, they're probably not going to give me a referral, because it's almost their code of conduct, if you will. I think MSPs are very similar. You must really earn their trust, and they have to see the value. But here's the good part. The MSPs are living by automation and trying to find productive ways to embed AI and to really enable a lot more efficiency in the services they're providing. So the good news there is they live in this space, and they are going to see the value of some of the AI opportunities that we're discussing long before I think the end user or customer may resonate with them. But it all starts with relationship. And I know that I see a lot of different numbers from State of Sales, from McKinsey, and you can pick the number. People are saying that you need to touch someone 6, 12, maybe 24 times to earn their trust. I mean, pick your poison or your number, but that is, it's not going to happen overnight, Vish, and it's going to be a long process. And that trust, if it's not built, those service providers are not going to walk with you and their clients.
Yeah, and as you said, they might be ahead in terms of their value chain, in terms of their understanding of the how the market is evolving, how their enterprise accounts are kind of, what kind of opportunities that they may see. The AI product companies, because of their ecosystem, because of where they have been focused, the AI product companies might face a little challenge in terms of convincing MSPs in terms of the value that they can offer, unless they have identified a wedge and they have positioned themselves on that wedge. But if I ask Nick, Nick, where do you see? Have you seen value in terms of these service providers, or MSPs, or any hyperscalers for your product? Means, do you see that as a distribution channel?
Yeah, absolutely. So if I was a AI consulting company, or if I had an AI based product and I wanted to bring it to market, the very first channel I would go through is a partnership based channel. And so as Dean had mentioned, MSPs, managed service providers, which are the managing IT systems for small and medium sized businesses. That's a great channel to begin with. But there could be many other channels. Maybe you have something that is specific to car wash companies that own car washes, right? Let's use that as an example, right? I guarantee you there's some sort of network among car washes. Maybe it's the supplier to those car washes. Maybe it's maybe accountants, fractional accountants that work with car washes. But try and find that ecosystem of people that are already trusted advisors within those organizations and partner with them. What's incredible now, if you're an AI consultant or develop, have an AI product, is, especially as a consultant, the ability to demonstrate and provide a unique offering is incredible now to get the attention of these trusted advisors. And I would highly recommend, especially if you're new, is do something for free, or try and do everything you can to get in the door. Once you're in the door, then it's revolutionary. So I going directly to the end user is very time consuming. You're not, you may be going in there cold because you don't have any connections in there. So going in through a trusted advisor, then your multiplier is 1 to 100. They may have 100 clients if they're a larger MSP, as an example. And this goes back to more of a, from a fundamental sales perspective, going through your channel, going through your trusted advisor network is step number one. That's really important. And then once you've landed there, your first car wash that you sold to, let's say, right? Chances are that owner may know other owners in that space. So then it's really leveraging the network. And that's something that, again, fundamentals of sales, a lot of people don't do. They don't leverage the network. They don't ask their client, can you give me a referral to 3-4 other clients? So it's leveraging that network. And that's, I'm not on this this webinar with you to push my products or anything like that, but where we really focus on is a sales enablement capability to help leverage your network, to leverage your network to break into new opportunities that you weren't even aware of. But that's fundamental number 2 to really grow your business.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. So of course, sometimes these gatekeepers, I mean, there could be other stakeholders that you can tap who can become your partners in your journey. They can either become so even if you're talking about MSP, I think one of the things that actually strikes me is if you bring some complementary value to the MSP, they become part of your journey. They could be your co-designer. They could be kind of identifying the right opportunities in their accounts where they can position your solution while complementing their services. Similarly, you talked about some the network that can be approached. So yeah, that could be a good way to kind of to at least spread actually enabling the discovery through the network effect that you can bring in. But yeah, Dean, you were saying something.
Well, it'll probably go into the next question. I'll save it for there. It's going to be an example of. I am going to put in a plug on Nick and KnowledgeNet, but I'm going to give it in an example of how we're helping the customer, because it's redefining giving companies an unfair advantage to win business over their competitors. So I'll save it to the pilot's question.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
So let's move to that segment wherein we talk about the distribution death valley, and we look at once there's a pilot, what is after that pilot, because so many times it so happens that the pilot get approved, the stakeholder within the organization they sign for they are impressed with your demo. The sponsors congratulate you. The POC worked, and then what we see is the tool becomes one of the 50 tabs open on the business user laptop. Right, so integration gets delayed. The change management budget was never allocated. The pilot champion moved roles. Even users revert to muscle memory. So most AI pilots fail not because of model quality, but because of operational integration and unfunded behavioral change. So when Dean, we are talking about these kind of pilots, and sometimes these pilots can be leaking revenue. So what kind of deal structure can be created, or how do you architect deals that move from outcome-led demos to governance-ready contracts? And if you are building these deals, then what are the pricing and contract models that actually force expansion? So expansion is baked into the initial sale rather than renegotiated from zero leverage later.
No, great question. I'm going to say that pilots don't leak revenue. I'm going to say that poor architecture leaks revenue. And I'm going to give a couple analogies. What I mean by that is if you're doing a pilot per se, people look at that like a science experiment. They enjoy it. They're having fun. They're learning. It's nothing around having a commitment. So I don't do any pilot that I'm not generating revenue. I have no interest to touch it. I can't afford to do that. My time is too valuable. So what I will do, because the one thing I know in the world that sales growth imagination is, no one can beat us on a discovery. I know that now. I know how good we are, but it's because we do the heavy lifting that I call it the 4 truths. We're dealing with what the CEO or owner says the issues are. We're uncovering what all the other leaders know the issues are. Sales is out here being renegades doing their own thing. That's okay, because I'm one of them. And then there's all these other employees that are the most critical gems in the rough. They're the people touching clients that the clients trust the most. They're on-site project managers, they're implementation people, fit and feasibility, sales support, tech support. And what we'll do on the discovery, we'll go in for a fee, and they range 10 to 20 grand generally. They could get larger based on the scope, but we'll actually do the discovery with about 65 different categories of sales strategy, sales methodology, the analytics measurables, KPIs, and the sales people organization. And what that does is that produces sales or gaps in a gap analysis, and it'll red flag or yellow flag. And a gap is saying, everyone's saying, hey, we really suck at this. Or a gap is someone is saying, we're good here. And someone else is like, no, we're really not good here. And you go into one-on-ones, what I learned, and I had some coaching from some of my peers like Bishop Bill in Charlotte or John Lee in Oregon, put your money where your mouth is. So I'll go in and do the discovery as a standalone engagement, because I look at it as the owner may not need to do what I do. So Nick kind of touched that earlier. So a discovery may validate that they're going to do nothing. That's okay. You need to uncover that up front before you invest a lot of time and money. They might want to try it themselves. It's okay. They may not like me, and they may say, Dean, can you help us get another advisor, because we just don't see you as the guy. Or they may go, hey, like I had one CEO that I'm in now, and he said, Dean, I'd be nuts to not go ahead and go into a 2-year contract, because the amount of intellectual property you're going to learn in the first 60 days in my company, I can't let that go out the door. I'm going to need that help. And I'm only saying that because I won't do that without a definable SOW that will then build out the deliverables. But I'm going to hand them the intellectual property in the world of KnowledgeNet. And this is where I'm going to give a plug for Nick.
So Dean, there's a question, very related question that has been there. So what is the best approach if one has a pilot solution ready to offer? So I think he might be meaning is a solution ready for pilot and the demos to contract conversion, how to accelerate. So
that's a perfect question that ties to what I was going to say on KnowledgeNet. We're going to build a statement of work. We're going to go in for a 4-month minimum time period, and we're going to prove ourselves with the client based on that scope of work. It is not for free. There is absolutely a price tag around it, but it is allowing them to use the solution at a user level. We're going to take it to a baby steps, if you will. And then once we've proven ourselves and they see the results, we're going to then take that to many more users. So I think we give a more safer approach to a small business, similar to what maybe AWS in the marketplace, it feels safer, or if you're dealing with a Microsoft or, a larger player. But I think building a smaller scale approach.
Let me also ask Nick. Nick, do you have any response to this question?
Yeah, I'm gonna respond under the context that the person asking the question has a product that they built and they want to bring it to market. So I'm gonna frame it a little bit differently than what Dean just did. Dean's points were really good. So a couple of things. So you've got a pilot product. If you've been in product development at all, you know the concept of an MVP, a minimally viable product. So if you've got a pilot product, you want to bring it to market as soon as possible. You want to validate that product as soon as possible. I think we've all seen the kiss of death is that you keep on iterating on the product, and then you end up losing all your money because you've burned through all of that. As far as bringing it to market, you want to validate that as soon as possible. So I always recommend leveraging your network, going out to the market, even if a person's not in your network, and being very humble, asking, there's this pain point I've identified. It could be like, oh, I'm a doctor. This was a problem I saw, and I came out with this product. I'd love to get your feedback if you think it's a good idea too, or whatever. You have to start with from the why did you build this product in the first place, and get validation. Doing like a LinkedIn campaign around that. No one wants to be reached out on LinkedIn to be sold to. The only reason a person's going to respond back to you on LinkedIn is if they think they're going to get value in communicating back to you. Or a lot of times people are helpful. So if you reach out to them on LinkedIn or via email and just say, look, I respect you. I've done some research. You're a leader in this space. I would really appreciate 15 minutes of your time if you think this is a good idea, or I would love to get your feedback. That's a great way to get the ball rolling from that perspective. So I always think if you're trying to bring a new product to market, that's a great first step to do. And then the statement of the demos to contract conversion, how to accelerate that. That's all from there. That's the pilot process itself that Dean was talking about. So if you're brand new, you're just bringing a brand new product to market, I can appreciate you're going to do it at no cost. You just want to get some feedback and so forth. As soon as you've had some sort of validation, this goes back to one of your earlier questions, Vish, from access to power. It's the right person. If they're not willing to pay for your time to do that initial phase 1 proof of concept, then you're wasting your time. So that's a good validation check that you're talking to the right person, that they're actually willing to put some money down. So that, to me, that's the acceleration. Yes, you'll lose some clients along the way, and you'll be scared because they're going to say, no, I'm not, you haven't proved it to me yet. And then I would just walk away from that perspective. So those are the steps from an MVP to now you've got something that's of value. Don't give it away from that perspective. Have them put some money down to validate those requirements.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that journey is sometimes, very complex when you have to make some go, no go decision, whether, if the client is not willing to pay, but they may talk about, okay, this may open door for a bigger opportunity for you. And sometimes you have to assess whether that could be a strategic account, or, that's where you may probably have a LTV for something which could help you sustain. But otherwise, if you are not making any revenue out of it, then that's something where you might have to move out of such engagements. There's also a question which has come from Suresh. How effective are industry SME consultants? As I think it's the context is, of course, the distribution, as SME consultants as a distribution model or a channel partner.
Hey, Vish, that's critical. And I was at a manufacturing group yesterday, and I've surrounded myself with about 8 trusted advisors that do Lean Six Sigma. They actually hire in the manufacturing floor space, so they're hiring welders, they're hiring machine mechanics, different resources that are in that space. So in my world, I have to find people smarter than me. So I know manufacturing is critical. I'm very focused around GMA, GAM, Georgia MEP, all the different groups that support them. But I've tried to find people that do things for manufacturers far different than what I do. And finding people that have those unique skills, it really helps you understand that vertical. So I think SMEs as a team approach with a wide, vast range of skills is really important.
Yeah. So Suresh, to answer your question, yes, industry SME consultants are effective, it all depends on what kind of engagement that you form with them, but because they understand the process, and as Nick earlier talked about, that these AI tools are actually being built to address the process gaps or process management in the potential client ecosystem. So any industry SME who has an understanding of those processes, they could be a great channel partner. There's another question. I think this is from Praveen Sawan, because I'm not able to see the LinkedIn username. So should one focus on a vertical or keep it open across sectors? So do you suggest, your initial distribution model should be specific to certain industry, or it can be industry agnostic?
I'll take that on. So
Yeah.
I would highly recommend that if you're new, that you start with a certain industry specific vertical focus. A lot of times there's a lot of products out there that absolutely can be, or your value proposition can be agnostic to any vertical or horizontal, right? The reality though is that your client base thinks that they're special. They think that their industry is so special that they need specialized solutions, and that's so common. So let me go back to a couple of things. There was the chatbot earlier that we discussed, right? Let's say you do have a chatbot that you're trying to bring to market, okay? I would highly recommend, it's gonna be very, very expensive if you're trying to do a typical B2C and you're just trying to sell a chatbot to anybody out there. But if you said, oh, this chatbot is really, is customized for car wash industries, right? Then all of a sudden you're gonna get the attention of car wash CEOs, right? And you can just market it that way, but it can be absolutely transformative if you do make it more vertically focused.
Yeah. Okay. So since we are closer to the, we almost reach an hour. So I'll just have one more question to our speakers, and especially in terms of when you look at, for 2026, what are the models, the distribution models that will evolve for these AI first companies? Is there a pattern that you could foresee, or you think it's going to be, more like keep on trying different channels, and then if one channel kind of gives you results, then you can probably strengthen your focus on that specific channel. So what are your thoughts, in 2026 or beyond? What is that distribution model or channel could be more effective for AI product companies?
Gina, I'll let you go first. I know we need to wrap up, so it's over to you.
Yeah, I think that you do need to try different things. When I think of 4 clients right now, they're totally transforming their business. They're adding new revenue streams, new products, new relationships to either complement their current business and or potentially an entirely different new business. And I think that thread is going to continue from companies. So I think where we can, any of us can find ways to understand that with these owners or help them build that strategy. I think that's where the real win is. But the number one thing, and that's why I love KnowledgeNet, is if I can help my clients or prospects get new customers, I'm an extremely valuable partner. And that's where I think 26, you must win new logos, or you're going to get left behind by your competitors who's going to figure out how to win new logos.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you. Yeah, that's a very strong statement. And if you are not winning logos, of course, you must reassess your strategy, whether the product is kind of can create value for your potential customer or not. But just to quickly conclude, since we are talking about the broken distribution, we looked at different angles. But when I try to summarize, why the AI distribution is broken, because AI is sold like software, but it actually behaves like transformation. So we talked about the process transformation aspect earlier. The AI is also are seeing a lot of invisible gatekeepers, and we should be mindful of these invisible gatekeepers, whether people who are owning the data or proprietary data, or even in terms of the security mandate that they have to meet for the organization. And these are some of the critical gatekeepers that you should be mindful of. Apart from that, of course, there are external gatekeepers whom you can tap to strengthen your proposition. Traditional channels expect a resale margin, but AI requires co-creation or co-design. So obviously, if you could build your network that can help you, that can co-design with you or co-create with you, that could be a better approach rather than you going solo in the market. Marketplaces, as shared, they provide good visibility, but that doesn't actually commit the workflow adoption. So you have to be mindful of those aspects when you're picking up certain channels, especially marketplaces or even MSPs. You might have to understand, if there is a workflow adoption that would be part of these accounts where you can position your solution. Then there's enterprises actually like a single accountable AI owner. While there has been a conversation about chief AI officer, but it's still the accountability is still not that strengthened. So that also you have to be taken into consideration when you're actually building a distribution model. So there, when we look at the winners, from the distribution perspective, while there is an intelligence which is going to be more abundant in 2026, distribution will still be scarce, and the winners will not be those with the smartest models, but those who could design resilient distribution architectures. And there are three patterns that are emerging. One is, of course, the service-led trust layers, bringing implementation credibility early, outcome as a service model, selling measurable business results. And we also talked about vertical. If you can focus on certain vertical, but then at the same time, if there's an embedded AI living inside workflows, so that can also become, that can also add to the distribution model. And here's the broader shift, that the next decade will not belong to AI first companies. It will belong to process native companies and companies that redesign workflows around intelligence instead of bolting AI onto legacy systems. And that is exactly what we are exploring next. So I invite all of you to join us on 19th March for the next 2020 Vision session. Why process native companies will win the next decade. If today was about broken distribution, next month is about a structured reinvention. So mark your calendar for 19th March, and we'll share the registration link in the comments. If this conversation has touched your thinking, share it with your teammates, with your partners. If you are building enterprise AI, rethink your distribution architecture and join us the next session. I'd like to also thank Nick and Dean for sharing their insights from their real world experiences and learnings. And thank you all for being here. See you on 19th March. Thank you, Nick, and thank you, Dean.
Thank you, Vish.
Thanks, Vish. Appreciate it.